meetings. All right, good. We will do these meetings every other month. That's kind of the minimum cadence. If we need more, we'll set those up. We might need more, I'm not sure, as we move through the programs, but the expectation is every other month. And again, we want to gain insights from our community leaders, because I think the best programs include engagement from not just those we're serving, but the people from communities and stakeholders that are actually going to take advantage of those services. We want to build these programs out so that they work for you. We also want to know if there's any emerging trends in your communities, especially as you're moving through the process with your applications. And so this is definitely a feedback format for you all. And we need that to be successful. I've learned quite a bit just in the last several months of just meeting with folks, having conversations about, what you guys need, and trying to incorporate that in some of our planning. And so we have a lot more planning to do, just so you know, and nothing has been decided. So that's a great opportunity for us to build this program together so that you guys can serve your communities with broadband. We want to make sure that, we support you in achieving your connectivity goals. And again, for CBO and the staff on the call, we want to be very transparent about our activities. These are, the funds that we're going to spend are historic, but they're also still taxpayer dollars. And so we want to make sure they go to those most in need. And so we just want to let you know that we'll do a lot of engagement. This won't be our only touch point. As a matter of fact, we're going to have several touch points with you. And of course, we have a great, well-rounded staff of industry, community, policy folks, data folks, and so forth, so that you feel like you're supported in your application process. Next slide. So one thing that I want to do in terms of format as well, these presentations will be probably about 15 to 20 minutes, kind of an update from the broadband office, but we want to create some space for you all to ask questions as well. So we decided to pick the broadband strategic plan just to kind of give you an update on that. First of all, I want to just give everybody kudos for those who filled out our surveys and helped us with the data collection around our broadband strategic plan. Really appreciate that. It is available on the OIT website, and we're doing press around it. But the broadband strategic plan came out of Executive Order D22-23 earlier this year. It gave us the directive of establishing a vision for broadband, a roadmap and strategic plan by August 31st. We did complete that. And it's a roadmap for how Colorado Connect can provide 99% of Colorado households with high-speed internet at a minimum of 100, down 20 up, and being able to scale it to 100 megabytes per second symmetrical. So we're doing this by 2027. This aligns really nicely with our federal partners' timelines as well. And then obviously our EO said that we have to have a transparent process for soliciting feedback from industry and community. So this format will serve us really well to do that. And then it also required us to develop individual plans for K through 12 distant learning, libraries, tourism, state parks, telemedicine, our prisons, and federally recognized tribes and rural communities. So it's pretty robust and comprehensive of the state. In the plan itself, there are individual plans for each one of these if you're interested. There's a lot of really great work going on at the state, and there's a lot of need, especially for our state agency partners to serve you as well. We are still waiting on the tribes, so we'll hopefully get that soon, and that will be incorporated in the plan when we receive it. Next slide. So the roadmap, we established 4 goals through the roadmap. And just so you guys know, the roadmap is a high-level summary of the broadband strategic plan. The broadband strategic plan is not published yet, so we will be publishing that hopefully before the end of the month. It's tied to our greater digital government strategic plan process. So once that's out there, you'll see a lot of press from us and social media on it. So the first goal is our connect 99% by 2027 goal. And so that's kind of our North Star, if you will. I know our federal partners say 100%. Obviously we'll do our best to get to 100%, but 99% is almost 100%. And then the second goal is to expand digital inclusion and adoption to achieve affordability, access, and digital literacy by 25% by 2027. The 25% number, I'm sure folks will probably ask me, how'd you get that number? Well, it's new math. It's more of what I think we can accomplish. It's the floor, not the ceiling. We want to do as much as we can to expand digital inclusion and affordability, access, and the literacy that's really important in addition to just the infrastructure build out. And third goal is enable Colorado to thrive by fostering and supporting a digital economy by 2027. This really means this goal for us, and there's a bunch of activities in the roadmap that that kind of speak to how the state can implement policy, look at regulations, or revisit regulations to support those in the field support those in the field that are trying to do infrastructure, digital inclusion, even around job creation. What can we do as a state to support the gig economy, if you will, or what did we call them to the pandemic? Zoom towns. I don't know if that's still a thing. It probably still is, but anything that we can do as a state to foster that is really important. And then goal number 4, strengthen resilience across Colorado communities through broadband by 2027. This really speaks to building resilient networks. We're making significant one-time investments. We want to make sure those investments last a long time. So resilient networks, sustainable networks, networks that are going to stand the test of time. So that's what that means. Next slide. So just a couple of updates. I want to go over the next steps on the broadband roadmap and strategic plan. We are going to put the press out there hopefully soon, and then we'll probably do some targeted outreach and promotion of the plans, answer any questions. We will make it available for public comment for 30 days, just to make sure that we didn't miss anything. Again, the strategic plan is a living document. We will revise it as we get more information. All these programs are brand new, and historically, we're all doing this for the first time. So as we learn more, we'll update the plan. We want to make sure it stays fresh and relevant to the work that we're doing. And then I just want to give you an update on the Capital Projects Fund. We did submit our grant plan to Treasury. And just so you guys know, if you're not aware, the state received $171 million from the Treasury Department to do capital projects funds, or to set up a capital projects fund grant program. And so we submitted that. Just so you know, the grant program design, once I get it through Treasury's approval, will be available to the public so you can see what we're thinking. And we'll do a lot of communication around this as well. Our application process will launch early next year. And we're working on guidance and all the good things and criteria that come with developing a program. But we will do a lot of outreach on this because we want to make sure you feel supported in your applications. And then the other thing too is we're going to provide support, some resources for the communities that don't have a lot of bandwidth or capacity to design a network and to do feasibility and studies and designs and grant applications. So we're making some resources available to community to help build their projects, so that whenever you're applying to our programs, you check the boxes. So we're going to do our best effort there to help support those in need. And then our mapping update, the FCC challenge process opened last week, and the state is working on making challenges to the fabric map. There's 2 steps. There's a fabric map challenge process, and then there's the actual broadband challenge process. We're going to be looking to ask a lot of you, maybe potentially, and all kinds of other partners to help us identify addresses and locations that are missing from the map. The FCC needs a lot of help with that. So we're in the process of doing that. Our wonderful GIS team will be reaching out on some of the strategies and approaches to help us paint the most complete picture for the FCC. The FCC, the challenge process and the maps are really critical to the state, because the data in those maps are going to be the basis for how the federal government allocates our BEAD money. And so the more BEAD money we have, the better that we can to reach that 99% goal. And I guess I did jump around with the BEAD, program, Broadband Equity, Access, and Deployment. I want to jump back up to that bullet point. The state's in the process of receiving our capacity money to support the program. So we'll be seeing an announcement here probably over the next week or two. The state will receive $5 million to support the CBO as well as support community. Again, in our BEAD action, in our BEAD capacity program, we are making resources available to community to support the development of your application, so you can apply to the state to receive those funds. As well as we're setting up a labor program because we realize that for industry, there is a labor shortage in the trades, especially around deployment of broadband. So the state's looking at trying to support industry in the deployment of broadband by setting up a broadband labor program, if you will. I haven't really titled it yet, or I don't have a brand for it yet, but that's what we're thinking. Next slide. So with that, I'm going to let Mark facilitate the rest of the presentation. And then we'll open it up for questions and comments. Again, this is your time, so please let us know if you have any questions, and you can also put them in the chat and we'll answer them. So thanks, everybody. And yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Hey, thanks, everyone. And I might have Lauren help me on this, but one of the important goals of this meeting was really to kick off some of the feedback that we really need to help plan our programs. And so we've got a few questions, and wanted to also mention that, you know, we're working on a community needs survey that we hope to have done and sent out in the next few days, or at least by the end of the month. And the general idea is that many of the places without broadband access are the same kind of communities that may not have the capacity to have a grant writer, an engineer, a mapping expert, project management, compliance. And so that's one of the goals we wanted to cover today, was try to get a sense of what needs are out there in terms of communities applying, finding partners, actually developing a plan to execute. In addition, we'd like to know ways we can help reduce barriers to deployment, whether it be permitting, working with state agencies in particular, other ideas there. And finally, just tell us where you're stuck. So those are the prompts to get the conversation going, and we're happy to take the conversation whichever way you all would like to go.
Thank you, Mark. This is your time now as community leaders or community representatives to ask questions. So like Mark said, these are some prompting questions that we have heard from communities. And when we say communities, we mean school districts, we mean business owners, I mean, really anybody who might need broadband, or need to put together a broadband plan. So this is your time to ask any questions. You're welcome to chat your questions. You're welcome to raise your hand and come on screen to ask, but you have the whole our broadband office team here ready to answer. Did anybody have any questions at this time? Yes, Flo, go ahead.
Well, I've never been known to be shy. And I have to say that I have really been monitoring or directly involved with broadband deployment, particularly in rural areas, since the 90s. Frustrated that we haven't made more progress, but excited that finally we've got the governor's Colorado Broadband Office and the power behind it. So really excited to have the CBO team addressing this. But one of the things that's really challenging for particularly a lot of smaller rural communities is that they're small, they're rural, they don't have a lot of robust staff support, and really when you talk about broadband, it tends to make more sense to talk about it at a regional level, and so it's interesting that not so much at Dr. Cog, because it's Dr. Cog, it's Denver Regional Council of Governments, right? But a lot of the councils of governments around the state, whether it's Northwest Cog, Southwest Cog, Upper Arkansas area Cog, you know, they tend to be more engaged in having conversations about broadband. So I'm wondering if there's much logic to looking at at a more regional context and a more regional approach, and kind of spreading the pie, spreading the peanut butter, I guess, is a better analogy, across a larger region. So that, a Silverton doesn't necessarily have to feel like they're the only ones dealing with this in the world, when just over Cold Bank and Mullis, Durango's having similar issues, right? And so, it seems like there might be some logic to having this conversation at a more regional level.
I will say, and team, feel free to jump in, but Flo, we appreciate that. And we actually agree with you. We have thought about that as doing some initial reach out to the COGs at first, the regions at first, to see what, because your regions better than our office does. And I know Delia is planning some community outreach, and I am planning some communication that will be more regionally focused. But I anything you can do to guide our office or give us input on how we should approach that, feel free to please provide that input, because that's really helpful to us. So, and I don't know, Delia, if you have anything to add to that.
Yes, Lauren, sorry, I'm trying to unmute myself. I just put my email address on the chat. Please feel free to email me. As Lauren said, we're trying to set up meetings starting probably at the end of October and start visiting the regions. And I want to hear how can we support the community? Like the first question that we have there on the screen. How is that we can support you during this time? And what I'm trying to do right now is to reach out, or what I'm working on right now is reaching out to people at different regions. So I can start making a calendar to visit all of you and be part of your monthly meetings, to hear from you, to start to build a partnership together. That's my plan at this moment. So my email address is in the chat right now. Feel free to email me if you would like me to, if you would like to host a meeting for me to go and hear your community. I will be happy to do that.
Thanks, Delia. Team, anything else? I don't know if Brandy, you want to have a little comment on that, but
Yeah, I apologize. I had to take a call. So Flo, what did you need so I can comment? I came in like at the last minute.
I know it's no problem. I don't know, Flo, if you want to summarize real quick for Brandy, but she was saying we should look at this at a regional level as well. So Flo, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Okay. Yeah, so definitely support regionalism, especially where we're trying to provide support for community. I think, there's been a lot of success stories when regions come together on broadband in the state of Colorado. And there's a few, and well, there's more than a few, there's a lot. And I think, because it's hard to scale, I think it makes sense for us to collaborate on the regional approach. So for example, there's activity in the southwest part of the state where they're collaborating regionally on broadband, which is pretty incredible. And then also Project Thor was another regional collaboration where, it resulted in several counties and stakeholders, local government, special districts coming together to do broadband. And it wasn't just infrastructure, but it's also like digital equity and some of those things that are kind of, an accessory to the broadband infrastructure piece. And so when we're looking at, providing support, we definitely want to leverage our COGs. The COGs are really great, but I also know every COG's different too. So I want to recognize the differences between the COGs. And so, and I know I want to say there's 2 areas of state that do not have a COG. I might be wrong, but I do know that there might be 2 that don't. Especially when you look at our regional planning map areas. So we're going to be engaging quite a few folks, and the data collection, we'll definitely leverage our regional councils of government too as well. It's been a success model for Colorado, and a lot of and addressing a lot of really major policy issues. So definitely want to do that. So hopefully I answered your question.
Thanks, Brandy. Beth, you've had your hand up for a bit. Why don't you go ahead and ask your question?
All right, thank you. Can you guys hear me okay? Yes, okay, awesome. Flo Rotondo, oh, bow down to you. You've been helping Clear Creek for like a quarter of a century, so thank you. I sent an email to you guys yesterday to the generic OIT email, and I know I'm asking for the world, but you know, I am the definition of what Flo was talking about. You know, I'm carrying about 6, 7 different departments, and they put broadband on my table, and I went, oh boy, you know, and so I'm drinking through the fire hose. I'm sure like setting up a CBO office, drinking through the fire hose, trying to figure it all out. But what I asked for was the easy button. I want like a spreadsheet or something that says, here's all the funding that's out there. Here are the grant application deadlines. Here's the match requirements. Here's the, what are eligible requests? Are they CapEx or OpEx? Here's a web link for each fund, and here's a contact for each fund, you know? And I know, y'all, I know that is a big old pain in the butt to put together, and I feel for you. I do, because I've been trying to do it myself and I'm struggling. So, and I just, you know, I feel like I'm running down a lot of rabbit holes trying to put together money for design, and then money for installation, and then collaborations with jurisdictions to make it more attractive request, you know, and it's a little overwhelming, and I'm just hoping maybe I could get that easy spreadsheet that would tell me, Beth, here's your deadline, you know, get it together. And so that was one of my requests. And then of course, Delia, come on down, girl, come to Clear Creek. We need to talk to you. So, but thank you for all that you're doing. I know that you are hustling to try and make it all happen in a short time frame, and we are grateful for you. So thank you.
You know, that's excellent feedback, Beth. And we know how you feel. and you probably have it a little bit worse because you have a lot you're managing, of course. And we're just the broadband office. So if you feel like you're drinking from the fire hose, it definitely is because you are. And our role is to help, you know, that fire hose not seem so intense. So I think that's really great feedback. We can certainly put together a matrix of things, you know, as far as the federal deadlines and stuff like that. You know, we're in the process of designing our program. So that'll be something that we definitely put out there for folks to have plenty of time as soon as we know. There are the federal deadlines, and those are pretty well established. And, you know, so we'll also include that as well, but we'll make sure that everybody on the call and our communities have a good sense of what to expect and when and what's required. And so one of the things that we're also thinking about doing, especially for folks like you who are just kind of taking this on and it's brand new, which is most everybody, to be quite honest, is, you know, here's a checklist of things that you need to do to develop your broadband project. So it's a lot of the components that you've already mentioned. And so we'll be coming up with kind of that checklist as well. So probably in the next couple months, we'll see it, but just if you're signed up for our information, which you are, I'm sure you'll get notified whenever that is available.
And Brandy, I'd like to also add that, you know, we mentioned the survey earlier. That is the intent of the survey, is to help identify those areas and and kind of identify the communications at the regional level that we can facilitate and help out with.
Yeah, agreed, Mike. Thank you. And Beth, John Kirby, thank you, John, dropped in a link to a spreadsheet that the NTIA released, I believe, yesterday, and I have found it to be a helpful resource. So you might want to take a look at that. And I don't know if it's just, I can't remember if it's just NTIA funding or if it's all, actually Sarah Smith from the NTIA is on the call. So Sarah, I don't know if you can tell us a little bit more about this new funding resource. But I glanced at it yesterday and I found it to be pretty helpful so far. I don't know, Sarah, do you have anything else to add to that? I know you said you can't come on camera.
Yes.
Feeling great. So that's totally fine.
Sorry, guys. I am sick today. As far as I can tell from looking through it at my initial glance, it is an aggregation of all of the federal funding that is available for broadband. And if you go to it and look at the left side, it breaks it down by agency and department, and then it also breaks it down by eligible recipients and program purpose. Pardon me. And it is something that the NTIA is working on updating regularly. Beth, to your point, we're very aware that there's a lot of concerns out there about all of the federal funding that's coming, and that some of the deadlines actually line up together and they're close, but they have different areas that they cover. Like, we get it totally. And I'll just say, from the BEAD perspective, there's a lot of focus on utilizing lots of different sources of funding and having BEAD sort of be the cream on the top. So we're aware that it's a concern. Definitely working through your broadband office to have them support you. Delia and Kirby Kendall are going to be really great points of contact to help you with that. But also know that there are federal resources out there to support you. Thanks, Lauren. Apologies for my coughing.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm sorry to have you speak, but we appreciate that, and I hope you feel better. So yeah, Beth, more for you as we discover great resources, because I can tell you as an office, we're looking for them too. Okay, I am going to go to a question in the chat, and then Salvador, I see your hand up, so we'll get over to you here in just a moment. So I know it says Karen, but I believe this is I'm sorry, is it Gary, right? No, it's Mayor of Ordway. I'm so sorry, I can't remember what your first name is, but you had asked a barrier, or commented a barrier that we learned about and we may be faced with in the Southeast Colorado is SB 05152. Will OIT be pushing to get the state legislature to get rid of this? If not, most towns will have to hold an election to get rid of this.
So
I can speak to that.
okay.
Did you want to say something?
Well, after we met last week, I put in there, we put together a team to move forward, and CCOM, who's a vendor, was there, and they kind of explained this to us. So that's how we became aware of it. So go ahead and address it. I just kind of wanted to know.
Yeah, I can certainly address it. This is one of those kind of self-imposed barriers from a regulation perspective. The deployment of broadband that doesn't really serve community or industry very well. And so I know CML has a list of the communities that have opted out. It's significant. So it really kind of goes to show that most people think this legislation isn't helpful. and so it's about 17 years old, so it's outdated. And so what we're doing this legislative session is we are going to pick it up. I don't know what it looks like at this point. I think we're going to try to really focus if it's a repeal and replace, or if it's just a complete repeal. So I don't know that yet. But we are going to pick up this legislation to deal with. I know there's communities that have opted out, but there's so many communities that have not opted out. And the smaller communities have to, in some communities it's so small that the only reason you'd have an election is just to deal with this Senate Bill 152 opt-out, which is expensive and time consuming for smaller communities. And so we are looking at that. I will tell you that it's probably what piece of legislation I'm most excited about. And there's a lot of support. Initially, the support we're seeing from just, from our delegation and the governor's office around rethinking this piece of legislation. So what I've told folks is that you can certainly go ahead and do your own opt-out if the state's moving too slow for your taste, but for your project planning. But we are hopefully by the end of the session, which will be around May, we'll have something signed off where this isn't an issue for local government or industry anymore. So just stay tuned. And the other thing that we're also going to do is that when you're applying to our program, don't worry if you have opt out or not, just apply. And that's something. So tell everybody in your area, like CBO is looking beyond this piece of legislation, because I think we'll figure it out pretty soon, what we're gonna do there. So you're eligible no matter what. So
Can I ask a follow-up question, please?
yeah, of course.
So our next general election would be in 2024, right? Yeah, 2024, where we would have our town election.
Uh-huh.
So that would be, from a calendar standpoint, the best time to do our opt-out. But the question, because we learned from CCOM, it's better for small towns if maybe you can own your own infrastructure stuff.
Mhm.
So will not having this done for 2 years inhibit our chances? And is that something we may look to do sooner and just do a special election and be done for? Because there's the cost of the special election versus this project is not comparable. So that's an election we would want to try to go ahead and have. So that's the question, is the timing on this deal. What needs to be done to make it us have our best chance to get this done?
Yeah, so you'll have to figure out kind of what the timing is for you. Like I said, if there's something that's emerging or pressing and you can't wait for the legislative cycle, then yeah, you might want to go ahead and move forward with a special election just to get it out of the way. And I know, for us, it's going to take a little while for our program to roll out. So, you do have some time. So if you wanted to host it, if you wanted to have it during your regular election in April, that's fine too. It's really up to you. Some communities I've advised just to go ahead and do it because their election was way before we were going to get our ducks in a row. But it seems like, just based on what you've told me, the timing might be right. Just you can certainly wait on this date if you want, and avoid the election altogether. I do believe that we are going to. I'm like 99% sure we're going to address it. So, but I'll leave it up to you.
That's kind of where I'm at too. So I'll wait till we work with, I forgot her name, that's going to come out and do the visits. So we'll wait till after that to see where we're at and kind of get a vision of where we're at and the timing. So thank you for taking my questions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Jerry, right? Jerry.
It's Jerry. Yes, ma'am.
Great.
Jerry.
Okay. Sorry about that. Thank you, Jerry, for your question. And I see, that you would like Delia to come down. So we've captured that and she will follow up with you. So
Thank
you
you.
got it. You're welcome. Okay, Salvador, you've had your hand up for a bit. Why don't you go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah, we here in Pueblo have, we're in the process of finalizing our plan for the city of Pueblo. And I've spoken with Dahlia and Sarah numerous times. And I guess one of the things with respect to coming down and moving forward with our meetings, I guess I would be interested in really laying out a clear framework for that, so that this way the meeting framework, our processes, we begin the process to be able to collaboratively work with the CBO office, the Office of Future Work, and everything that's coming down the pipe. We've made significant headway in our plan, and we're almost done with it. And we're at that point now where we have to integrate and be able to move forward with respect to what that looks like now, with all the key partners, all the key stakeholders, the city, the county, the university, and then also working with some other regional partners that we want to be able to begin that dialogue with and be a partner with respect to what a regional approach could look like, or what that needs to look like, so that this way we can begin moving forward with what we're doing. So I guess I'm asking for a kind of a clear collaborative framework and what that would look like. I'd be more than happy to work with, of course, with Sarah and Dahlia in doing that, so that this way the expectations in and around those who will be collaborating down here are clear, and there's clear understanding with respect to what that will look like, so that this way we can maximize our time with respect to what we're doing. So.
Thank you, Salvador. I think you bring up a great point. yeah, because we can't be in all the communities very,
Yeah.
very often, and it's a big state. And so, yeah, I agree with you. I think some structure to that visit,
Yeah.
which I think maybe it sounds like it's best that maybe Delia reach out to you and kind of put that together so you guys can determine
Yeah.
exactly, because you're a little bit further in the project than a lot of other communities.
Yeah.
You know, your needs and your structure may be different. So we'll follow up with you and put that together.
Perfect.
And I think too, you know, that might help us structure visits for other communities as well,
Okay.
based on, you know, because you guys are further in the process. And I think sounds like we could probably learn a lot from you. So, so yeah, I think we'll follow up. And then I don't know, Delia, if you have anything else to add to that.
Yes, over there. Great having you today. I know that we have been talking and exchanging emails. So
Yeah.
happy to know that you still want me to go to Pueblo, and looking forward to visit you. And maybe, as Sarah saying, maybe she will join us. And I know Ali, since he has Region 7, will be
Yeah.
happy to come along as well. So looking forward to that email, to that visit, and I will be emailing you at the end of this meeting.
Okay, great. We've already got the buy-in from the city and everybody, so they're waiting for us just to kind of, you know, organize what that structure would look like and be able to pull it all together and make that happen. So great.
And I'll just say that, you know, and this is a great example of, you know, how the broadband office can support you guys. If for those on the call that are in other regions, if this is something that you're interested in doing, we're happy to come to your region and talk to you about all things broadband in our programs. So just let us know. And it doesn't matter how far along you are in the process. But I'm a huge fan of doing a lot of communication and engagement up front, because I think, you know, on the back end, it really shows in your applications and stuff that, you know, to the state for funding. So the more we can do with you guys up front is great. So, and we're happy to go across the state. We've hired people in different regions of the state to do this work. So just let us know.
Great. Thank you for that, Brandy. And yes, thank you, Sarah, for offering to travel with the CBO and visit stakeholders. So we appreciate that. I do not see any other questions in the chat or hands raised at this time. Does anybody else have a question? A place where you might be stuck, you know, if you're at the very, very beginning of this, trying to figure it out, or if, like City of Pueblo there, Salvador said they're pretty far down the road, you know, what are you learning along the way? We'd love to hear too. If we have about, I'd say 5 more minutes for questions. So please feel free to raise your hand or chat something. And I will say too that leading up to, like we mentioned, these calls will be on a bi-monthly basis. So we will have this every other month. We'll start to take questions prior to as well. So you'll have an opportunity to email us your questions. Some questions take a little bit of research on our end. So we're happy to do that before these calls. So we will start to ask your questions prior to as well. Beth, go ahead.
Okay, I'm just gonna ask one more really quick question. We are looking at the Middle Mile grant, and we've been working on the application and everything for the past couple of weeks. And I'm kind of in a conundrum, I guess. They want you to have the last mile solution, but my county leadership says you have to go through an RFP and find that last mile provider through a competitive process. Any thoughts about that? I mean, I guess it's a little late now to go through an RFP for a last mile provider, but I want to, we have letters from last mile providers who said, hey, when you put out that RFP, we're going to bid, but it's kind of the chicken or egg. I don't know. Brandy, I see you thinking, so give me the magic words.
Yeah, no, that is a chicken and the egg. And it's a conversation that we have quite a bit about, especially the middle mile supporting last mile and last mile supporting middle mile, whatever it is. But in terms of the middle mile grant program, I know it's due like in the next week. And yeah, it's probably too late to do an RFP process. But, you know, I think, you know, you can indicate in your grant application that that's something you want to do, or you're going to do, or you plan to do. And it might be something that you guys do anyway, just to have, just because there's that last mile piece isn't unique to the middle mile program. It's unique to all, it's for all federal programs. So, you know, I think that you're going to want to do that anyway. And I would encourage, you know, others on the call, if that's the path you're taking, to do the same, whatever your process is, of course, because I know every community is different. And so, you know, one of the things, I don't know, like the last minute is definitely a huge motivator for people. You know, one of the things you could do is you could do a quick, you know, respond. You could do a quick solicitation, just, I guess, letters of interest to bid or something like that. So at least you have something documented for the NTIA that you do have people that are interested. I mean, you could do that within a few days. I mean, I know in a lot of our communities, there's not like a ton of ISPs. I mean, matter of fact, you probably know them off the top of your head. You could probably do a quick, you know, request for inquiry RFI to see who would be interested, just to check that box for the NTIA. I know Sarah's on the call. So Sarah, do you have anything you want to add there?
Excuse me. Thanks, Brandy. You know, Beth, we're as the FPO for BEAD and DE, I'm not really allowed to talk about any background details on middle mile that aren't publicly shared. But they did just produce volume 4 of the FAQs yesterday, and I'll put the link in the chat. And what I would say is, personally, I would just turn in an application with your letters of, you know, we will bid, because I think that there's value in turning in an application, and it sounds like there will be some form of curing and back and forth with participants. So they might be able to come back to you and say, hey, we need more than this. And you can say, great, I've already started the RFP process. So that's my recommendation.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you both.
Sure. Okay, we are running out of time. We've got about 2 minutes left. So we wanted to make sure, you know, that we have this email. It's a general email box that we check on a regular basis. And if you have any kind of question, please feel free to send it there. We will get it to the right person on the team to respond and answer. So if there's anything we didn't get to today, questions you still have, please feel free to send it to this email. And then we also want to make sure that you're aware our programs team, which who are the specialists on all these programs, and can be a help to you and a resource to you, are listed here on the screen. Kendall Kramer is the program specialist for federal funding. He is located in Montrose, so he's on the western slope. And then Ollie and Mike Murphy have split the regions up. You can see what regions each one of them covers. So they are kind of like your specialized, dedicated programs person for your region. So their emails are there as well. We will post this presentation to our website, so everyone has access to it. So you can gather these emails and the links that we've provided as well. So that's your team, and we are pretty much out of time. I do see one more question that came in through the chat. So Martin, we can follow up with you on this one. Unless Brandy, do you want to try to take one more question really quickly?
Not really a question, just a comment, unless you have something that's beneficial.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
No, it was just a comment. It's just, I'm with Beth. It's just hard. We can't commit internal funds without getting an idea of cost, and we can't get an idea of cost without committing to an RFP. And then, so it really is cart before the horse, and we're struggling with that as well, being a K-12 district, because we don't meet the requirements for a lot of these funds. So we're hoping for a ride-on or a partnership or a community, like I said, partnership. So it's frustrating. And then the deadlines loom, of course, so it's hard.
Thank you for that comment, Martin. We appreciate it. And again, please continue to reach out to us. it sounds like this is a barrier. So our team will do a little research and see if there isn't any other assistance we can provide or resources or information around this particular barrier as well. So thank you all for bringing that to us. That's really the purpose of these calls. We want to know what you're stuck with and what you're struggling with. So thank you, Martin. I appreciate that.
You bet. And again, no action necessarily needed, just a comment. It's just a frustration.
Yeah, no, that's great for our office to know. So thank you. We are on time, so we appreciate you guys joining us today, and we'll make sure you all have information follow up to this and know when the next community leader roundtable will be. So thank you all very much for joining. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.